Begin this hour with breaking news from the Trump administration. Sources tell CBS News that the U.S. Agency for International Development will now merge into the State Department. The government's lead group for humanitarian aid was on the brink of completely shutting down. This morning, staffers were told not to come into work today at the Washington headquarters. We expect President Trump to make this announcement in the coming days. So let's get right to CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes. She is back for more. Thank you so much for being with us. What more can you tell us about what this move means for the agency?
Liz, my colleagues Jennifer Jacobs and Sarah Cook have learned that the White House now plans to merge USAID into the State Department. Currently, USAID is its own agency. It's got about 10,000 employees, but according to White House officials, it would now become part of the State Department. There would be significant staffing reductions, probably other kinds of spending cuts, but it would remain a humanitarian aid operation. Now, I should point out there are many members of Congress who say, you can't just do that. You can't decide which agencies you want to fold into other agencies. It requires the approval of Congress. But this is where the Trump administration says that things are heading right now, and they tell us we should expect an announcement in the coming days.
And also, Nancy, President Trump is apparently backing off of his threat to impose tariffs on one of at least America's three largest trading partners today, Mexico. The president made an agreement with Mexico's president to delay those tariffs by 1 month. Can you walk us through what else is included in that agreement?
Sure. There is one big negotiating win that led the president to pause those tariffs on Mexico for a month, and it is the fact that Mexico's president agreed to send about 10,000 Mexican soldiers to the Mexico side of the U.S. Mexico border, specifically, President Trump says, to deal with the fentanyl problem and fentanyl being brought across the border into the U.S. And so that was apparently enough of a win for him to pause the tariffs that are supposed to go into effect tomorrow on all goods coming from Mexico into the United States for 1 month. And during that month, he said there will be continued negotiations between the Mexican government and Trump administration officials, including the Treasury Secretary. Apparently, there are other promises that President Trump would like to extract in exchange for a more long-term halt in these proposed tariffs.
I want to change gears for a minute here because Elon Musk and DOGE are holding a Twitter Spaces meeting right now. It comes just days after Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent gave DOGE and Elon Musk access to the federal payment system. How much influence does this department now have under Trump?
They have an enormous amount of influence, and while they call themselves a department, the Department of Government Efficiency, it's worth repeating that they are not an actual a department of Congress or of the administration. This is simply something that Trump and Musk have set up outside of government to try to influence spending levels within government. However, Elon Musk does have broad access to both the Office of Personnel Management and the various agencies that he wants to cut, because we've seen a number of clashes over the weekend, including one that apparently turned physical, at least to some degree, as Musk and representatives of his operation tried to actually physically enter USAID and other agencies' buildings to try to access, in some cases, classified material, and both career officials and political appointees in some of those agencies tried to stop them and said, you aren't authorized to look at some of this material, and they were met with pushback. In some cases, officials who have tried to cross them have been placed on administrative leave, and a spokesperson for DOGE says that there was no inappropriate accessing of classified material. So there's no question that there is a growing tension between Elon Musk and those who work under him and some longtime civil servants throughout the federal government who don't really understand exactly what his authority is and why he's been allowed to do things that private citizens haven't been able to do in the past.
Definitely a power struggle going on there. Well, we have you. The president and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have agreed to start negotiations for the second phase of the hostage deal, the ceasefire deal, later on today. What can we expect to see from that meeting?
Well, this is the beginning of delicate discussions over ensuring that some of the successes that we've seen in phase one of the ceasefire are extended into phase two, which leads to a longer cessation of fighting, hopefully permanent cessation of fighting, and more, if not all, of the Israeli hostages or their remains finally coming home. And so it'll be President Trump's first opportunity to meet face to face with Benjamin Netanyahu since taking the oath of office. In fact, it'll be his first major foreign leader of any kind that he'll be meeting here in Washington, D.C. in the coming days. And this is something that President Trump has said is very important to him, ensuring that the hostages, some of whom are Israeli Americans, do come home and come home safely if possible.
A lot going on today in Washington. Nancy Cordes, thanks for breaking it all down for us.